And good evening. Hi, Karen. How's it going? Up there in the
My hands are disappearing.
Mine aren't, because I don't have anything. I've got a genuinely, legitimately beautiful background.
Lucky you.
Yeah. How are you doing? You're keeping up warm up there in the north?
No, it's cold.
No. Okay. Well, it's really cold down here too.
It's been beautiful. It's been beautiful, but boy, oh boy, I went out for a walk this afternoon and it was bitter. It was really bitterly cold. So there must be a cold snap coming from up south, down south rather.
I think so. So look, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in live. And if you're catching the replay, it's good to see you here as well. And we've got a fantastic guest joining us tonight, Christine Carter, who's even further south. And Christine is a fascinating lady who's known to many of our members actually, but is recently, I've discovered her recently, and I thought, got to bring her in for a chat. She's a healer, and she's lived, this is what I find really fascinating, 33 years on the road. So a woman after my own heart, really, although I'm on the water most of the time. But 15 years of those was overseas, traveling overseas. So just incredible, quite an adventure. Yeah. And she loves to share alternative options for personal health, as do we. And she's actually a consultant for the Bioptron Light Therapy, and she's a trainer here in New Zealand. So she's quite active at spreading the word about this amazing tool and modality and technology. So we're going to find out more about that tonight. Christine believes that we all proactively listen to if we listen to our body proactively, then we have all the answers to what we require to keep healthy. And again, we're big believers of that, aren't we, Karen?
Oh, 100% believe that. I can't wait for this discussion. Actually, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Let's bring her in. Okay, let me just bring her in. Here she is. Welcome, Christine.
Hello, everyone.
Good to see you.
Yes, great to be here. I'm in my motorhome because actually this is where I still live, even though we do have a house across the road.
Okay.
So I live in the motorhome because I didn't want to do more housework.
That's true, isn't it?
Oh, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. Well, Karen's got her camper. She loves her camper too. Although it'd probably have to be a bit bigger if you were going to be in it permanently.
Especially with those big Bioptron lights that are behind you.
Yes, I've got my lights set up there, and a little bit harder to maneuver around in the motorhome, but we do use it where we take it off the stand and use it in bed all the time. So
it is. It's quite a beast of a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the what we call the Pro, which is great because it covers sort of your whole face, and that's what we do each morning. Is going to the pineal, pituitary, hypothalamus, and then I do my thyroid and thymus at the same time. And then just on the left-hand side and then the right with your ears, you can actually get your carotid artery and your lymphatic drainage all at the same time. So it's like our main everyday routine. And literally I haven't had to go to a doctor for now over 12 years. In fact, I'm not even registered anymore.
Me neither.
No,
that's awesome. That's
it's a great club to belong to, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Well, when we went overseas, we didn't have a doctor overseas either. So you kind of had to just work it all out. And we learned that often those old-fashioned remedies that you get in those old-fashioned books actually do work.
Yeah. So what were some of the go-tos for you when you were traveling to keep well?
And, well, a lot of it was, once again, we carried with us iodine, garlic all the time, honey. In fact, whenever we came home for a trip, which we did every now and again, we'd get ourselves a really good active manuka honey, and we'd only have it for medicinal purposes. It wasn't to put on the toast.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just very simple kind of remedies all the time. And then, as I say, once we came home was when we got introduced to Bioptron Light. And so after that was like, wow, it was even a bigger bonus.
So how long's that been then, Christine? You've been
so
home?
17 years we've been home now,
Right.
and nearly. In fact, we're probably more in our 18th year since we've been home, because
Right.
we purchased our light at the end of 2007, I think it was. Yeah. And,
Wow.
And basically always used it every day. It's been our main focus for our healing, because we could see that it covers so many different things. We don't, and so that's our go-to first.
And for your career as well. So it's been.
And it ended up being sort of one of those things that it just worked out that it was a great thing for us to be able to travel and do the different shows. And I kind of love being called the light lady. You know, you phone up the clients and they go, "Oh, the light lady's on the phone." And I go, "Oh, what a neat job title."
The bringer of light. The bringer of light.
Yes.
So what drew you to the lights in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, originally a friend that we had met on our first trip home when I was teaching the Mayan calendar. And she helped me kind of get a lot of the workshops set up for the Mayan calendar when I came back to teach that, and was really interested in that side of it. And we went and visited her when we came home eventually, and she had both lights like these sitting in her lounge, and she was a really alternative kind of person. And she then just started telling us these incredible stories. She'd been working with racehorses as a job. And the guy that owned the horses had lights. And she just told us all these incredible stories about these horses. One of the horses was kind of a bit flighty and was very difficult to catch. And once she started treating him, because he had a tendon tear, with the light, the moment she would drive into the paddock, he would immediately come down to her after the first treatment. And then after that, there was another horse that used to give her a bunt if she chose the wrong colour. And that's how she learned all about the colours, was through this particular horse, seemed to know its colours really well. And so when she was just telling us these stories, and at that time we were just got over our 50 age mark, and both of us kind of realised that some of our bits and pieces weren't working as well. And it was like, this is perfect. We'll get a light. We didn't even sort of talk about it or find out any of the technical stuff. We just drove straight up to Auckland and bought one. And then from then on, kept using it. And then, because we were parking up at different places with the motorhome, and people would say, "Oh, I forgot my painkiller medication. I've got all these problems with my shoulders or whatever." And we say, "Oh, we'll just put this light thing on you." And then they go, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That feels so good. But I better go home and get my medication." And we're going, "Why?" But it was exactly. So and then we had to go to the office for something, I can't remember, only a few months later, and George in the office at the time just said, "Hey, you guys would be really good at selling this." And because we'd just spent so many years traveling through the Americas doing massage and teaching massage and doing healing work, it kind of just went, "Oh, yeah, that's great. Now we've got the next thing we can do while we're home." Yeah. So.
That's awesome. And did you guys have what sort of personal breakthroughs did you and your partner have?
Well, basically, one of the big things when we took off, we decided to get off the rat wheel. That was our big decision. Was that we didn't want to be on the rat wheel any longer. We wanted to be living a life that was from choice and not worrying about mortgages and all that kind of stuff. We own properties, but we just had those rented in. And bought a really cheap motorhome over there. It cost us 10 grand, and we sold it for 14 years later.
That's great.
Yeah, we did a good. She was a great. In fact, she came on the journey with us. And most of the journey was about our internal journey as much as our external journey.
Wow.
So a lot of it was, when you live together with somebody, 24/7, you have to deal with your shit. You can't hide it under the bed. So stuff would come up and we'd deal with it. We'd kind of work it through. And, both of us had done a certain amount of personal development stuff beforehand. And so we had the tools. In fact, I can remember I'd spent just so much on so many personal development-y things. And, you know, it was like, this is time for me to put it all into practice instead of continuing to keep on learning more stuff. I mean, it's like, got to do it. And so that was like what a lot of the journey was about, was just, we had a few things we weren't allowed to do, shoulds or have tos or, you know, must do's. They were out of the, you know, the thing. And it was all about, you know, seeking fun and enjoyment and what gave us pleasure. And if it wasn't working out, we'd just pack up and drive on to the next place. And kind of learned that, there was always a way to earn some income. And as I say, that sort of started to develop. We've built over 700 massage tables on the journey and sold those along the way. And we taught massage. Originally, we were doing massage with people. But then we learned that a lot of the massage therapists in these countries, especially in Central South America, had never been trained. They were just, in fact, most of them had never even received a massage in their lives, and here they were giving it. So we just had an open door there. We just called in on any hotel spa and got talking to them and said, look, we'll evaluate your services for you and help you with your staff. And earn some really good money in a very short period of time, and then we could travel for a long time. And then when the money ran out, we'd find the next hotel.
And you never got sick of this being on the road? Never.
I loved it. Sam occasionally would go through these, you know, if only we were blah, 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 blah. But like he later learned through his human design stuff that was actually just one of his little foibles in his human design, that the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. So once he got that, he kind of realized, okay, no, actually we love the moving. Yeah.
So how long have you been into the human design thing? Because that's a big part of your journey, isn't it? Human design is vital.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I was teaching the Mayan calendar all through our travels, and it kind of sedged way in, because what was really interesting is Jose Arguelles, who kind of bought the Mayan calendar and the 13 moon calendar dream spell, actually had the same kind of major download that happened to him in 1987, which is when there was a big supernova explosion, as what Ra had with human design. So they both got this huge big download at exactly the same time and became the messenger of these two different modalities, if you like, or systems. And then they both passed within a few months of each other. So it was like they came down, did their job of being in the messenger, and moved on. So my link in with human design, and then when I came across with Mayan calendar, and then when I came across human design, when we first got back to New Zealand, it was a huge shift for the two of us, because it just gave us a few more keys into how we can operate better together. And some of the things that we would laugh about, that, you know, all these years of being together was always like one of those little niggles in our relationship. And it was like, that's where that all comes from. And it was, you know, my husband's a manifestor, where I'm a manifesting generator. So we're actually two completely different types. And we operate very, very differently. And so there's a different way that we need to communicate with each other. And all of that has just helped so much in our own relationship side of it. But what we also realize is, with, you know, 24/7 living in, we used to joke about it, in a tin can, just in this tiny space, we'd actually completely enmeshed ourselves, where what was my purpose from a human design point of view and my husband's purpose, we'd swapped them around. So I was, his cross is the left angle cross of upheaval, and mine is the left angle cross of healing. And whenever we ran workshops, he would be seen as the healer. He was the one that did that really hands-on stuff and had this incredible way of moving and working with energy. And I would be seen as the upheavaler. In fact, I used to warn people when they attended our workshops, I'm going to light a fire under your bum if you're not living your purpose.
Wow.
So watch out, and actually the reality is I wasn't so good at that in comparison to him, and vice versa. So we kind of then realized that we had all of this, living together in such tight quarters, our auras had completely enmeshed, and we kind of needed to disentangle them, if you like, and come back into ourselves and who we truly individually were. And
so learning about the human design helped you do that.
Yes, and the big thing was sleeping apart. So having our aura-free sleep, which is kind of a big thing with human design, because if we're enmeshed in somebody else's aura consistently, it does get mushed around.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was a big shift for us, and it took us quite some time before we actually did it, because living in a motorhome was a bit hard to do that. So that's how this motorhome came about. We ended up getting one where we could be 5 meters apart from each other. Yeah,
that's very cool. And so you are actually also a trainer in human design, aren't you?
Yes. So I'm an analyst. After my husband and I both did 3 years with Christine Spicer doing what we call our personal side of it, like really getting to know ourselves in a better way through her in-depth classes that she does. And then soon in that period, I kind of realized I wanted to be an analyst. So then it was another 3.5 years of working, doing the study with Human Design International School, which was like in fact, a couple of the years were pretty much full-time studying.
Gosh, really?
Yeah. So it's a very interesting aspect. At the moment, there are so many people out there doing these sort of weekend or, few weeks courses. I know. And then they become a human design analyst. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's no way they can really understand the intricacies and the depths of what human design's about in that short time.
Yeah. But okay. So what's your advice around that? I mean, there's no handling reports from people and things like that, is there? Who know a bit about it, but
so the first thing is to get your foundation reading done by a trained analyst. Right. And you can check that out by going on to the international school and just see who the analysts are. In New Zealand, we've got 4 analysts who are trained, who've gone through all of the full training, and each of us have got different abilities. Obviously, Christine as a reflector is quite an interesting character. So she has completely open design, everything in her. So she's what we call 1% of the population. Wow. And she's an incredible teacher for that reason. So the workshops that she does are very in-depth. The workshops that I do are more online. And once again, I'm a manifesting generator, so I've got a lot more energy to be able to create all those sorts of things. For Christine, when she does a weekend workshop or 4-day workshop, it takes her like a month or 2 beforehand in preparation.
Oh gosh, really?
To be able to work with it. Yes, it's so different for a reflector. So we love to support her in the work that she does because she's really special. Yeah, so that's made a huge difference for the 2 of us in how we work. But most importantly is, as I say, the lights, I think, has made a big difference. Like now, I'm coming up to I'll be 70 in a couple of years. My husband just turned 70. We're both kind of going, wow, you do feel a lot different at this age. There's things that the body just doesn't want to do quite the same as what it used to. I've just done 4 days at field days, and standing on that hard concrete was hard work. So I'm just so grateful for my lights to be able to, deal with my feet aching and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So how many times a day would you both use Bioptron Light?
Well, we always do what we call our morning brain program, which can sort of happen at some stage when we get up. Sometimes when we're just still in bed before we get up. And then I would probably in the evenings again, while we're sitting watching TV or whatever, I would then often do, knees or bottom of my feet, as I often do after gardening. And then the key one is the nerve bundles as well. So our upper nerve bundle, which is at the top of the spine, and then the lower nerve bundle at the base of the spine. Helps all of your joints. It's like sending signals through the nerve pathways so that then they can start to repair different joints that are giving you a hard time. At the moment, I've been noticing when it comes to putting your undies on in the morning that there's one leg doesn't go in quite so easily anymore. And I know that's all to do with my hip. So I've been blasting that hip of late and then just noticed that it's all freed up again. So I'm going, okay, but keep working on it because obviously there was something going on there. So those are the sorts of things we just, use it for. And then I regularly, if I'm watching a movie or something, do my kidneys, liver, stomach, spleen, all our digestive systems really helpful. And then once, a couple of times a year, it's good to do the digestive series. There's a series of 14 wellness programs that I just absolutely love. And 3 of them are to do with our digestive system. And all of us can benefit from keeping our digestive system clean and healthy and our microbiome working well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's it? Yeah. Well, you go, Karen.
Okay. I'm going to ask Christine, with the Bioptron, when you do your programs and things, do you use the colours or do you just use, you do?
The colours are more with those wellness programs.
Right.
But when it comes to the joint issues, for an example, I would use orange predominantly, unless I've actually done something wrong and I need to use some indigo to deal with the inflammation or the pain. But the orange is the one that's going to bring back the collagen and elastin. It helps with your bones, muscles, and tendons, and will get there far quicker than using the generalized light. But when it comes to the morning brain program, that's when I use the generalized light, either the polarized or the fullerene. So there's 2 options now. Fullerene has a frequency that's using the C60 carbon molecule. That's like it spins and it goes right through your whole body. Incredible lens that actually can do a lot of deep kind of work. Where for me, the full spectrum lens, which has a little bit more of the low end infrared in it, is really, really good for like an energy boost, or if you're doing surface type stuff, because it will only, sort of like in 4 minutes goes 1 inch into your body. So it's more for skins, wound healing, that kind of stuff. So I still use both different lenses depending on what I'm needing at the time. But yeah, the interesting part is for me is this plethora of different infrared systems right now that are out there that you can see on Facebook all the time. And a big percentage of those are done with LED lights, which is like, oh my God, I mean, they're not even healthy for us.
Wow.
No, I know. So it's like a big worry there. And also infrared is great. It's a great thing for warming your body and things like that, but it's not actually what our cells respond to. But I do know with the full spectrum or the polarized light, it does have a little bit of that low end infrared in it, and sometimes that will help energize. So there's sometimes those sorts of things will help, but they're not the things that are going to do the repair that Bioptron does, which is a incandescent light. So it's a halogen bulb. That's why it's got a fan and everything in it. So it actually is what our cells respond to more effectively.
Right. Wow. Fantastic.
Yes.
And so have you mentioned, that the orange light helps with collagen regrowth and things like that. I'm sure being in natural wellness for a while, you can't make medical claims and all that sort of thing.
Oh, no, we're not. Well, actually, I also think that's just a load of bloody bullshit, to be quite honest.
Of course it is.
I'm sick and tired of having to pretend that things don't work. I mean, 17 years of watching clients have so many benefits. It's like, really? I'm not allowed to say that this works? Okay, I'll play this silly game. The fact that, most pharmaceuticals have a huge amount of side effects and cause so many problems. And we're meant to say they're the perfect things for people to
Oh, and it's all disclaimed in the fine print somewhere, Christine.
Somewhere, I know. And most people don't ever read that. I know what it's like. Even with our manuals for Bioptron, I say to clients, phone me, because I know you're not going to read the manual. I mean, there's a very small percentage of people that read the manual and go, oh my gosh, you've read more than I have. But yeah, they know the stuff that's in there, but most people don't. They just want somebody to phone up and go, yep. And then I say to them, can you start now listening to your body? Try something, like every time I have clients ask me, well, how long am I meant to do it for? I go, well, as long as you want, really, unless somebody's super, super unwell. They can sometimes get a healing reaction if they overdo it, but that's kind of very rare. I mean, that's no different than a massage or whatever. People will have
or a detox reaction.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't concern myself about that, but I just, like you kind of warn people. But most people, it's like, listen to your body; it'll know. In fact, I kind of joke about the fact that our little dog knows exactly when to move away from the light. And there's sometimes he'll just hang there and you kind of go, oh, he really wanted that, didn't he? But, once something's happened, he just up and walks away from it.
Yeah, but this is what animals innately know. And unfortunately, we're not taught this stuff. And we, throughout our lifetime, we're taught to trust the experts, take what's prescribed, don't overdose, don't take too much of all the big pharma stuff. But often with natural remedies, it's actually just go for your life. It's little and often, or it's Yeah.
But once again, listen to your body as well. Be careful that you're not getting in this regime. I have to have this every day, and it becomes a thing. It's like actually listening to our bodies, because we have got wisdom in there.
So my question was going to be, because you piqued my interest with the orange color and the collagen, and so I was wondering, have you had people who can give testimonials of bone on bone type people in the knee and stuff, who have had all of that collagen grow back?
Yeah, in fact, we had this gorgeous guy, one of our first clients that bought one of the big lights from us. And so this was quite a few years ago now, he was a farmer. He had 4 farms, but he was also the local volunteer for first aid. He was a paramedic. Yeah. And he came to us and he said, I'm bone on bone. And he said, I'm not going to let those bastards take to me with a knife. I hope I'm allowed to say that on here. But anyway, I just thought that was really cute. And he said, and he sat down and he felt immediately a difference. He said, I'm going to buy it. Right. I just know that if this has given me that kind of difference in one treatment, I'm going to keep persevering with this. And he was very religious about it. And he used to phone me quite regularly with different things that a neighbor had or his wife had or somebody else. And he was really working with it. And then about 8 months down the track, he phoned me up and he said, Christine, do I have to keep doing this every day? And I said, well, experiment, see how long you go before it hurts again. And he phoned me back and he said, that was 5 days. And he said, I just started to feel a little bit of pain at the end of the 5 days. So he said, that cartilage must have built back again. But I'm not going to go and get a test to see. But he said the fact that I got that kind of relief. And I said, well, like anything, at that stage, I say it was 87. I said, you probably will need to still keep using your light quite regularly for the rest of your life. But, who's to say? Yeah. So.
Wow. And so what are some other examples, like maybe another couple of examples you could share with us where you've had clients have pretty amazing turnaround in their health?
Oh, God. Well, once again, some major ones with cancers.
Really?
She
said Karen.
I know. I'm not allowed to. I don't care anymore. I really don't care.
Go, Christy.
Yes, they can find me. Yeah. So, the thing is we've watched people with tumours reducing. Like, in fact, I told this story so often, but we had one beautiful lady we met at a Wanaka AMP show. A friend dragged her along, and she had tumours on the top of her head. She was riddled with cancer as well through her whole body, but what was giving her so much pain were these tumours that were external, and they were weeping and they were painful. She couldn't brush her hair. They were just agonizing. Anyway, we gave her one treatment, and she phoned me up and she said, that pain has now sort of gone. And she said the weeping's reduced. And I said, look, we'll come and see you tomorrow because we've got the chance to. We finished the show. Went and did a treatment, another treatment and it reduced even more. And then I said to her, look, we can come back tomorrow because we've got other things to do around town. Went back and saw her, and that time her husband was there, and she'd said to me, look, we're not buying a light. I'm dying. I've been told I'm dying. So I said, I'm not going to spend money on a light that, I can't afford because I'm going to die anyway, because that's what the doctors had told her. Anyway, I said to her, okay, that's fine, but I just want to help you get rid of these tumours. So anyway, we turned up, and luckily her husband was there, and he said, like bloody hell, you're not buying it. He said, I've already seen how much they've shrunk down and the weeping has stopped and they're now not painful. You're buying that light. So she said, well, now that that's happened, what about my lungs? Because she said, I've got no puff anymore, like I just can't do anything. And she said, I've always been an active person. Anyway, I said, look, do it on your lungs. I said, do it on the back as well as on the front. With the indigo color. The indigo is very good at shrinking. And then the main full spectrum light, because at that stage we didn't have fullerene. This is quite a few years ago now. And she phoned me up a couple of weeks later and says, I just went horse riding with my grandkids. I haven't been able to do that for months.
Wow.
And then she phoned me up a little while later, and she'd been working on she had them in her liver and, places that really normally would knock somebody over. And she phoned me up and she said, do you know what? She said, I had a dream last night that with I had an 80th birthday cake with the 80 candles in it. And at that stage, she was in her 60s. Anyway, the interesting part was she said to me she originally got cancer in her 30s. Breast cancer, and then and she was in real estate at the time and really stressed, and she'd got back into real estate when we met her, but she'd just because she was so sick she'd given up again. And then I kept seeing her on Facebook and things were going well and all the rest of it, and later we heard that she'd passed, and I bumped into her sister. And her sister said, you know what? She got back into real estate, was stressed to the max, and I don't think she was using the light as much as she was when you were working with her. And she did finally pass. But she lived another 8 years after this diagnosis that told her that she was going to die. And as I say, she did have it all through her. So, so those are just some of the amazing stories that you kind of go, yeah, this is cool being the light lady.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you share with us, how much these are? I imagine you've got different machines, have you?
Yeah, so what we say is that for your basic just handheld light on its own is just over 2,000 without all the colours and all the bits and pieces, all the way up to 7.5 for the big one with everything. So it's within that range, depending on what you decide you're going to choose and have. And we've got quite a few clients that will get both lights. The big one because they know that that's great to be able to, it's going to save time. But the little one's wonderful to travel with and also does those wellness programs really well because they kind of key acupressure points. So we do a lot of our light treatment is going through key acupressure points. Because sometimes you can get a faster result doing the key acupressure points. For an example, doing the shoulder is on the wrist, into the elbow and into the shoulder. 1 minute with orange will actually often get there quicker than if you do 10 or 20 minutes on the shoulder itself. So there's a number of little, we've got people are busy these days. They don't have time to.
No.
It's getting the circulation moving within the meridians, isn't it? It's the meridian.
Yeah. And that's what the wellness programs are a lot about, is activating the meridian lines, acupressure points, and they're just short, little, lovely treatments that are wonderful to help with overall health.
So would you like to let us know, Christine, what you're going to be covering off in the workshops coming up in the Food and Frequencies Network?
Yes. So for people who are wanting to know how to utilize the light that they already have a little bit more, that's one of the big things that we do. Like, we regularly offer more in-house workshops, whether it's a whole weekend away. In fact, we've got one coming up in November at Castle Hill for our clients, and people who haven't got a light as well. They're most welcome to come along. And I regularly do them throughout the country in different places as well. But, generally we have our main full weekend ones that are in Castle Hill out of Christchurch, and then another one up in Auckland, which will be in earlier next year. And we do those, twice a year. And then I've got one I'm planning at the moment for here in Karamea, because we've got quite a few local people that have got lights, and it's just an opportunity for them to kind of learn a little bit more about what their light can do. Because often when people buy them, they buy them for a specific problem. And then what I'm trying to do is encourage them to use their light on a regular basis as a proactive tool to ensure that they have a good, healthy immune system for a start off. So we'll talk a lot about that.
Isn't it? It's about prevention, isn't it? When you're talking
yeah.
I'm very guilty of having a Bioptron light since 2012, and it's sitting above our sauna. And so I really would like to, when we do our workshop, I'm excited because then I'll be able to learn how to use it again. And the only thing I found with it, it's the handheld one, is that the stand is really you've got
the beefy one. Yeah. So the new ones now have a stand that it's really easy. In fact, you basically have got the light just pops in and out like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's very simple. It just plugs in, and then it's also got the detachable cord.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Don't worry. There are many of the old compacts that we had to kind of repair the cord because, But, once again, these are little fine-tuning kind of things that, will improve the easy accessibility of the light. But a lot of it's also being shown correctly how to get it in and out. Yeah. And, it is a lot easier than some people think. And it is great having the stand, especially if you're trying to do those nerve bundles.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to the workshop so that I can get it out of retirement.
Yeah, so what I'll cover, I'll cover the difference between the two main lights.
Right.
We may even get into some of the technology of it, but I won't go too deep because I actually think it's just kind of messing with our head anyway. Trust it that it's kind of working on the body anyway, and then also go through the different colours. I'll talk about how each colour has a different frequency and why each, the colours are specifically able to help. Yeah.
Great. Excellent. So 2 workshops coming up.
Yes.
So look, we should probably think about wrapping up soon. So we've got a few questions that we'd like to ask our guest, Christine. So first one really is what's coming up for you? Next, anything going on that people can plug into, and how can they find you or connect with you online?
Well, they can phone me on the 0800 number. So I have 0800 to be well, or that's 0800 229 355. And that's our website that you've got up there as well. They can connect with us through that. But I do like the phone call thing. Answering emails and texts and all that kind of stuff means I've got to be sitting there on technology. I'm just as happy to get on the phone. Any questions, happy for people to call me. Most of what I tend to do, as I say, we're doing a workshop here in Karamea coming up. We haven't set on the date yet, but it'll be in July, August. And then, I'm intending to, we've got one in November at Castle Hill, if anybody has got a light and would like to learn about all that. And what we do with the Castle Hill one, it's such a beautiful sacred site. We stay in we hire a house in the village, and we pick people up from the airport if they fly in. So I say to people, just wait for one of those cheapies with Air New Zealand, and we pick you up, and then we'd go and do a bit of a shop. So everybody contributes to the food side of it, so it keeps the costs down. It only costs $150 for the whole weekend workshop, and that's really just covering the cost of the accommodation. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Great way of meeting a whole lot of other people who are, hi Jane, a whole lot of people who are like-minded, is how we put it.
Yeah. Lovely. That sounds fantastic. That's the way we like to do things too, isn't it, Karen?
Yes,
it is. And I think the more we do that, the more we can share, the more we can enjoy other people's company, because it is, isn't it? And this time, Christine, it's about meeting and mingling and sharing our energies with one another.
Exactly. And connecting to, as I say, people that are on that same page or same wavelength.
Absolutely.
And, have you got any advice or any sort of top tips that you like to share for helping people navigate their health during these very interesting times we're in?
Is do a lot less. Stop the doing. For me, it's huge right now, especially because there's so many things coming at us that, in fact, I'm on the board for the Outdoors and Freedom Party with Sue Gray. One of those things that I don't know how I had my finger in the air for that one, because I don't think I did. But anyway, and what is really interesting, there's just so many things that are bombarding us right now, all these submissions to put in, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just taking a big deep breath and going, okay, no, I actually don't know a whole lot about that one, so I'm just not going to do that. And I'm really relaxing myself into all of these things that we can be doing. And just, as a girlfriend of mine just recently said, remember, we're here to eat the popcorn because it's just a movie. Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. Why be busting your gut to try and do anything right now when things are all so up in the air?
Because the reality is basically we've been run by a whole bunch of guys that are playing with their willies.
Yeah, they are. And each other's willies. Yeah.
And so we just need to sit back and watch them have a good time with themselves. I just, and from a planetary point of view, this is all meant to have happened anyway. Absolutely. And that's also something that it kind of helps me. I just keep reminding myself I'm a soul here in this body, in this blink in the span of eternity. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a little blink, and it's just let it go and watch the movie.
Top advice. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely what I'm feeling, and a lot of people in our world are feeling, aren't they, Karen? Just do less and follow your joy. Stay in that joy and ease and flow as much as possible. If you find yourself doing the hustle and the grind and you're coming up against it, bloody take your foot off and don't go there, because it's probably not going to work.
Well, it's kind of interesting to me. The word dis-ease is exactly that. It's dis-ease. We're not at ease any longer, and I have to work at it too. Don't get me wrong. At times I get just totally caught in it all, and
absolutely. Okay, and here's another one. If you were to truly thrive then in 2025, what would you be doing or doing more of? Or doing less of?
Doing less of. Once again, I believe a lot of it is about taking personal responsibility for what's happening for us. Like one of the big things for us is we're completely mortgage free. And to do that, you've got to make choices. We also have got all of our own water systems. We've got all of our own solar systems, so that we won't be reliant on things. Now, that's still not going to guarantee that we're okay. because they might manage us out here on the West Coast or whatever. But, it's like being as proactive for ourselves as we can, I think, is a big difference. And also get to know our neighbours really well. Like, that's a big thing for me, is in such a small community like we have here. It's been really important to get to know who we're going to be rubbing shoulders with if something does happen big. Yeah.
Yep. No, I think it's absolutely important to be aware of these things, isn't it? Yep. Don't dwell on it. Be aware and be prepared as much as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. But then not get too, like right now, I'm like, we haven't gardened for years and years and years. So I'm learning from, luckily, a whole bunch of people around here. And we end up paying a few people to do it because I actually don't like it that much.
No.
I love the harvesting bit, but, God, at the end of the day, all the other parts is kind of a bit laborious. But anyway, it's, and also too, you've got to do it. All of a sudden you have all these have-tos. Oh, yeah. But it's lovely having a garden, but we're experimenting. There's some things in fact, I've now got tomato plants. The full whole plant has gone for 3 years in our tunnel house. Didn't chop it out and pull it out and put another one in. We actually have
That's amazing.
And it's still producing. And so I'm thinking, oh, this is an interesting experiment. Do we have to pull them all out and start again? I don't know. Yeah,
that's very cool.
I know. Wow. So I'm loving experimenting and not worrying about whether I get it right or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always disliked gardening, and I still do. Since my garden is wild, there isn't any cultivation happening at all. So I love wild gardens. I love wild meadows. Not that I've got a meadow, but I've got a wild wood.
She's got woodland.
I've got the woodlands. Yeah. So I hear you, and it's another should. And I think I've got an aversion from gardening from childhood, when I used to have to go and be made to do the weeding, and I was hated.
Yeah, it was a chore. It was made to be a chore, but
yeah.
But I come from a long line of incredible gardeners. We know. In fact, I know 8 generations back, because my family's. My family, my mum's family came here on Samuel Marsden's ship. He was the captain of the ship, and they were the ones that set up house. The family did, and actually fed the missionaries, because the missionaries didn't have a clue, and had incredible gardens. And it's gone all the way through. My granddad was an incredible gardener, but somehow I just haven't got that gene. I'm a traveler.
Other things to do, Christine. Other things to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool family history, though, I have to say.
It is very interesting. Yes, very interesting family history.
All right. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with us and with our audience?
No, I think anytime, if anybody was interested in learning a little bit more about the human design or their light, just give me a call.
Oh, I think it would be great to get you in the network on the topic of human design as well. What do you think, Karen?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it would be magical. So I can't wait to learn from you, Christine. Yeah. It's going to be such fun.
Yeah, no, this has been fun this evening as well. And I did love watching you go through your brick wall. That was cool.
Fantastic.
I'm on platform 9 3/4. I'll be leaving on the train in a minute.
Okay.
Love it. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us on Chewing the Fat here, Christine. It's been great getting to know you better. We can't wait to get to know you in the network. And just a quick shameless plug for that as well. If any of you have been watching this and go, oh, I wouldn't mind attending one of those workshops, then just come in and join us. There's no harm in even trying it out for a month and see how you go. But we've got a delightful community, haven't we, Karen? And we're always learning new things like this and bringing in fascinating guests like yourself, Christine. Plus, we have most of our members are very interesting in their own right and are practitioners in their own right, or looking to be, or looking to pick up new modalities. So we're all very like-minded.
Please don't hesitate to post in our group anything you feel like you want to share, please.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
I'm sure everyone would love to see it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you on the network soon, Christine.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye, night.